Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon and welcome to the online legal webinar, What is Financial Technology? Organized by the Law Trip Division of the Multimedia University Law Society. I am Yijun, the moderator of this webinar. For today's legal webinar, we are extremely honored to have Mr. Richard Wee and Ms. Marlysa Razak as our distinguished speakers of the day. We are honored that Mr. Richard and Ms. Marlysa have agreed to be with us today to share their knowledge on financial technology. Before we begin, I would like to briefly introduce both Mr. Richard and Ms. Marlysa. Mr. Richard is the managing partner of Messrs. Richard Wee Chambers. He has 20 years of experience, and his areas of expertise are cyber law, sports and esports law, and trust law. Mr. Richard graduated with a Bachelor of Laws with honors from the University of London in 1996. He has also completed the Certificate in Legal Practice in 1998 and was admitted as an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya in 1999. In 2020, the Ministry of Youth and Sports appointed Mr. Richard to the advisory panel of experts. In 2021, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation appointed Mr. Richard as a member of the panel of experts for the Research and Development Fund for Technology. Richard Wee Chambers was also appointed as a partner by Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation in a collaboration with Bank Negara Malaysia in their Fintech Booster Program from the year 2020. Ms. Marlysa is a partner of Messrs. Richard Wee Chambers. She has 5 years of experience, and her areas of expertise are company and contract law, transport, logistics and warehousing, tourism and hospitality laws, and international trade law. Ms. Marlysa had graduated with a Bachelor of Laws with honors from the University Technology Mara in 2015. Her primary areas of practice are general litigation, corporate and commercial litigation, contractual disputes, tortious actions, tenancy disputes, and wills, probate, and administration of estates. She is also involved in commercial and corporate practice, assisting companies and startups in their corporate matters. In 2020, Ms. Marlysa ventured into the relatively new field of financial technology law and continues to share her knowledge about this topic to this day. So without further ado, I would now like to invite Mr. Richard and Ms. Marlysa to share their knowledge on the topic of financial technology.
Hi, Yijun. Thank you so much for that. Nice introduction. Always strange to hear people talking about ourselves, but thank you very much. Can I also introduce my partner, Mal? Hi, Mal. Are you there?
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Yijun, for the introduction. Again, very nice introduction.
Yeah, much obliged. I'll go straight to the point. Yes, I am Richard Wee, and my partner, Marlysa Razak. We both do a fair bit of financial technology work, Fintech, as is popularly known. To be frank, Fintech is not really a new area. It's been around. In fact, I would like to thank MMU, who, in fact, I think a few years ago, tried to organize such a talk. My colleague reminded me earlier, and I think MMU has always tried to be at the forefront of evolution of laws, changes in law. So well done to MMU, and I think both Marlysa and I are very humble and privileged to be here. It's always nice to go back to universities and give back whatever we can to the undergraduates. Fintech. Let's go straight to the point. Fintech. Fintech is, as I said, it's not new. It's been around for a long time. You know, ATM machines are Fintech. People tend to forget. Go to ATM machine, you put in your card, press your number, ask for some money from your account, and you'll get it. So that is the basic work of financial technology way back in the 80s and 90s when ATM machine first started. But what has happened over the last 4 or 5 years is that now we are moving Fintech into this, into our mobile phone. And you're able to carry your bank account in your mobile phone. And for most of us as a consumer, Fintech will be what you see as e-wallets. When you buy shopping online, you put money into your e-wallets. And what more, especially when the online sale have this special sale, the 4/4 sale, the 5/5 sale, the 6/6 sales, and then that online portal will tell you that put your money into the e-wallet and then when you make payment, they'll get discount, it'll be faster, speedier, etc., etc. So that is a simple way to explain fintech, but there's a lot more to fintech. There's also the B2B or P2P kind of fintech, which is about business to business, peer to peer. Some financial technology issues and portals, they don't deal with customers, they deal with business to business. There's also issues pertaining to business to consumer, which is us, and then the issues of fintech dealing with the regulatory bodies, dealing with government agencies, etc., etc. Now, next slide. Now, what we'll do is this: Marlysa and I will conduct a dialogue. So I will just quickly go through these 7 topics now, introduce to all of you. And I'd like to thank all of you for logging in and joining us on Facebook. You could be anywhere else at this moment, especially kawan-kawan Islam sekarang mungkin nak tidur ke nak lepak tapi tengah mendengar hujahan dan syarahan kita di sini. Terima kasih. Much obliged for joining us. So what we'll do is we try to make it interesting. Marlysa and I will conduct this webinar by way of a dialogue. And how we'll start is that I will explain to you these 7 topics very quickly. And then I would like to hand over the mic to Mal, where occasionally I will come in and have a chat with Mal. And then at the tail end of the webinar, Mal and I will be discussing about the relevant laws and statutes on fintech. So I just gave you a very quick introduction to fintech just now, but I think Mal will go in more detail after this. We'll explain to you the active areas of fintech so that you understand what you're getting in. Recent development of fintech, I've heard Grab is going to be launched in New York, gaining a few billion US dollars. A fantastic achievement for a Malaysian-made app which is now based in Singapore. Then we'll go to some challenges of fintech companies, cyber security laws, including laws pertaining to data protection, and then we'll wrap up the issues pertaining to AMLA, which is a serious problem in fintech. All right. So Mal, how are you today, Mal? You okay?
Yeah, doing great.
Yeah. You look like you just woke up.
Oh wow. Been a slow day today, but yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I had a webinar this morning at 11 with Dato and Prof pertaining to sports science.
Yeah.
It was a very good webinar. Highly relevant area is going to be another issue: sports science regulation. Now, so on this, Mal, let's have a chat on this. What is fintech? What is fintech, Mal?
All right. Okay. So simply put, I think Richard has tremendously summarized fintech for all of us and with illustrations. So I think it's quite clear what Richard spoke just now, the examples that Richard has given about what is fintech. But in terms of legal definition, on the screen we have the definition of the word fintech. So fintech is actually a combination between the word financial and technology. So that's where Richard just now mentioned ATM. Obviously financial because it's bank, and technology, the machine itself is technology. So it is just a line of business based on using technology to provide financial services to allow companies to improve their use and delivery to consumers. So like for example, nowadays the most common fintech used by almost all Malaysians is e-wallets. So e-wallet is out there everywhere. Even QR code is also everywhere at the moment. Maybank has been doing a very fantastic job in introducing QR code to consumers, to its users. So that is fintech, right?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, Mal? That nowadays, I think during the lockdown, I actually didn't see my wallet for a few weeks, and I actually have forgotten how a checkbook looks like. As you know, we issue checks all the time, right? Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I think the other day there was this one time I forgot my wallet and I went shopping. I survived. So that is fintech for you. It allows you to spend your money without realizing you're spending your money. At the same time, give you ease and all this access and whatnot to technology. And I think Malaysia Malaysia's development in fintech is very, very fast. Online businesses out there.
Yeah.
And I think fintech has helped businesses during MCO very, very, what do you call this, very, very whole, in the whole kind of manner.
In fact, Mal, I know we'll be discussing about updates, but it's not there. We even have a latest fintech where we have an online insurance now. So that's something we can discuss later. Okay, go all yours, Mal. Yes.
I don't intend to read the slides. I think the viewers can read the slides. But this is technically or generally what we just discussed, Richard and I just discussed. What is fintech? So it involves the internet, it involves your smartphone, it involves computer, it involves data, blockchain. There's so many wide areas of fintech. We will go through the types of fintech in the later slides. So fintech is actually not just e-wallet. There's so many other things, and Richard just mentioned a few just now, like cryptocurrency and P2P lending. So we will go through that in later slides, not in depth technically, because if you go in depth, then it will take a lot of time. But I will try to explain to you what is these different areas of fintech very briefly.
Yeah, indeed, Mal, because I think many people don't realize fintech is really, really wide.
Yes.
Really, really wide. Even your favorite area, supply chain, there's relationship to fintech also, you know. I think at the end of it today, maybe Sabrina can remind us that we should actually give some examples to the law students, what fintech is about, other than our examples of e-wallet and all that, right? Then I think that we will expose our colleagues or our future colleagues of the bar on what fintech is about, is it, Mal?
Yes, I totally agree. So now I just briefly tell you who are the regulators for fintech in Malaysia. We have two main regulators for fintech in Malaysia. The first one is obviously Bank Negara Malaysia, because anything related to finance, money, in and out of money, use of money, trade and everything will fall within the jurisdiction of the Bank Negara Malaysia. So that is the first main one. The second is the Securities Commission, who acts as the regulatory authority for capital market. So as you all know, I think Securities Commission deals with shares, stocks and whatnot. So cryptocurrency falls within the jurisdiction of Securities Commission because of its nature. So we will explain this in the later slides, that cryptocurrency is currently recognized as commodities. So commodities fall within the jurisdiction of Securities Commission. We'll look into that later. So these are the active areas of fintech. We mentioned cryptocurrency just now. The second one is crowdfunding. So we will discuss about crowdfunding as well later, but generally crowdfunding is for startup companies to raise money. So I think for businesses, everyone needs money to start their company, to continue with their business and whatnot. So for startups, usually their main concern is money. How do they raise funds? So crowdfunding is one of the ways. Obviously, the other ways are by way of capital, venture capitalists or angel investors, but related to fintech, it is crowdfunding. What is crowdfunding? We'll discuss later. The next one is P2P lending. P2P lending is short for peer-to-peer lending. It is an online platform for business to give loan to another business without going through any strict requirements required by banks. So you don't need to go to bank and make any application and whatnot. So there is an app or online platform where you can apply or ask for loans from another company. E-wallet, everyone is aware of what e-wallet is, so I won't go into detail. Smart contracts. So smart contracts is basically technology-generated contracts. And Richard was right, smart contracts is one of the most commonly used areas in fintech in supply chain industry. Why? Because it helps both parties to enter into a contract within a split second. Because the contract is generated based on what the parties want, and they can simply draft their contracts online. So that's smart contract. And then we have blockchain, insurance is a new area, and then next is robo-advising and stock trading. I'm not really familiar with robo-advising and stock trading, so I won't go into detail for that. So yeah, so these are the areas in fintech. So this is what we were talking about, Richard, just now.
Yeah. So this it goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, the tremendous growth in fintech, where a homegrown company called Grab, who unfortunately moved to Singapore because I think they wanted to operate there, is going to go, I think on NASDAQ. I stand corrected. I think it's NASDAQ, but it's at the New York Stock Exchange. And this is an example of their recent collaboration with GHL system. And this will allow GrabPay to be used at Shell stations, as an example. Next. We see PayNet. PayNet is what you see when you make payment through your bank account. And they've recently collaborated with FastPay. Same thing, it allows a quick payment, tap on the phone, including a tap on the phone. It makes it faster and faster to do this. But at the same time, very importantly, ladies and gentlemen, fintech is not just about speed, but it also balancing the need for security to ensure that our money is secured. And I mean, that's why we have e-wallet, for example. You take your money out from your bank account and you plug in the e-wallet, the payment system is faster as compared to going through FPX or whatever, where you need to get PIN number, etc., etc. So this is a balancing act between speed and security. Next, please. This one, Mal, what is this about, Mal? Oh, this is the merger, right, Mal?
Well, this is the merger between Celcom and Digi. This is just very, very recent, actually. And so yeah, they're talking about merger, which involve assets from other countries. And I'm not sure what is the status as of now, but this could be big for fintech industry.
Yeah, of course. Everyone is saying, hey, Richard, but this is a mobile phone system, but people don't realize that mobile phone, financial system, financial technology all come together. So we need the mobile phone system to operate fintech and internet, of course. So this merger will have some impact on fintech, definitely. Next, the last one, I think. Yes. So recently, this is our good old Touch and Go, which is it's been around for a long, long time. People don't realize Touch and Go is fintech. So now they are going up together with this Go Plus, a financially inclusive investment product, and it's meant again to tap onto the Touch and Go Malaysian e-wallet. So all this, if you look at the dates, ladies and gentlemen, if you were curious enough and you notice the dates on the top left side of the slides, it's all recent. It just happened in the last 1 month, Mal, right?
Yeah.
And this is just what is the last 1 month. If we go back the last 1 year, wow, we'll probably be here for 2 hours for the slides. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the recent development of fintech to show all of you law students the speed of which this area is developing and the need for us lawyers to step in to advise our clients, guide our clients, particularly be aware of regulatory issues. And as Mal mentioned just now about smart contracts, where lawyers are involved in the drafting of smart contracts, we should require knowledge on the internet language. And of course, you need to know blockchains. It's very important to understand the blockchain being an internet record-keeping system. And from the blockchain, as you know, the cryptocurrency Bitcoin was born. Now, moving on, I think we will be going into more detail about fintech, Mal, right? Yes. So just as I mentioned about Bitcoin and crypto, we are now into the new area called cryptocurrency, which is not really currency in the form of cash. Is regulated by the security commissions in Malaysia, which Mal is going to explain soon. So Mal, all yours.
Okay, great. Okay, so cryptocurrency is not a currency, it is not cash. So you are not allowed to use cryptocurrency to technically trade anything in Malaysia because it is not recognized as cash. However, it is a virtual currency conceptual virtual currency based on the network distributed across a large number of computers. So this again used the system of blockchain. Blockchain, if you don't really know what blockchain is just like just imagine blocks. Each block has data. So then all these blocks are chained up together, and you can use all the information in there. So then by using these blockchains, all your data of your currency is in there, so then you can trade like stocks, but not trade to buy stuff, but just trade like stocks. So it is a very complex system. So you do have to read a little bit more on how blockchain works. But cryptocurrency in Malaysia at the moment is recognized legally. It is not illegal technically, although there is no particular statute to say that cryptocurrency is illegal. That doesn't, or rather legal, that doesn't mean it is illegal. But recently in in the beginning of this year, there is a case called Luno Private Limited and another, and Robert Ong Tian Cheng. This case is very, very interesting in a way. Maybe you want to have a read at the case. It is related to Section 73 of the Contracts Act. So what happened was, in the case, some cryptocurrency was wrongly or mistakenly issued to a user, and then Luno technically wanted it back. But there was some dispute, and the user doesn't want to return the cryptocurrency to Luno. So Luno initiated an action, and the High Court, based on Section 73, held that no, you do have to return whatever was mistakenly transferred to you. So in that case, that is not really the gist of it, what I wanted to point out. The gist of it is the court recognized cryptocurrency, and it is recognized as a legal tender in Malaysia. So that is the point of the case.
First case, in fact.
The first case. It is a first case related to cryptocurrency.
In fact, sorry, Mark. Yeah. So just a quick background. Luno is a platform for trading of all kinds of cryptocurrency, which you can see on the screen now. There are 5 which we choose. There are a lot more. These are the 5 popular ones. And Luno is, where when some of your parents, they will be keeping stamps, so they will have exchange stamps. And then the current modern way of keeping things would be keeping toys or keeping any what do you call these notes? Yes, correct. Then you can exchange that. So Luno is a platform to exchange and sell and buy and sell crypto. And you heard from Mal, somebody accidentally transferred something to somebody, and Luno wanted it back. So very interesting is that now in Malaysia, our courts acknowledge the existence and the operation of cryptocurrency. So very important. So as a law student, I would encourage you to read that case, particularly since it's a Malaysian case and we are all in Malaysia. All yours, Ma?
Yeah. All right. Okay. So these are just the law related to cryptocurrency and the what it falls under. So in Malaysia, under the Capital Markets and Services Order 2019, it falls within digital currency, definition of digital currency, and I don't need to read. You can read yourself. So then this was raised in Luno's case, basically just to get the definition of what cryptocurrency really is. So then we look at Capital Markets and Services. Why Capital Markets and Services Order 2019, or rather Capital Markets and Services Act? Why is it that act or that statute? It's because this statute falls within the jurisdiction of Securities Commission. So like what we mentioned just now, cryptocurrency being under the jurisdiction of Securities Commission, definitely we have to look at these statutes. Okay, so again, the capital market describes a stock market as a market or other place at which of facility by means of which offers to sell, purchases and exchanges of securities are regulated, made or accepted. So this basically describes the nature of cryptocurrency. And if you are to use Luno, for example, then you can trade your cryptocurrency. You can buy and sell your cryptocurrency just like shares. So that is why it falls within the definition of stock market, right? So that this is just a very basic of cryptocurrency, and so it has been growing for the past 4 years, and Luno is actually the first company who got the approval from Securities Commission to do this trading platform. Right? So read more about Luno if you want to know more about cryptocurrency. So actually cryptocurrency comes with very, very great risk, just like stock trading. You know, when you want to buy and sell shares, there's risk. Obviously, cryptocurrency will have the same risk. So how does the industry secure the trading? So there are actually 3 safety measures taken by the stakeholders in cryptocurrency industry. The first one is deep freeze storage, where they require multi-signature wallets with private keys stored in different vaults. So these are very technology terms, but what it means is just that you require a lot of different kind of authorization for you to be able to access your account. Secondly is authentication. Authentication is by way of passwords. So only if you have that password, you'll be able to access your accounts. The third one is staff requirements. So because it is related to all this trading, secrets, very sensitive data, sensitive information, your bank accounts, your basically everything about you, then the companies are taking high security measures in hiring their staffs. So they will have background checks on the staff, they will have trainings, they will have all sorts of checks with their staff before they hire. So these are basically the safety measures that's taken by the company in Malaysia, just because it is a very high risk industry. So I think that is all about cryptocurrency. Yeah, the second one is P2P lending. This one is also very interesting in a way. In Malaysia, it is still very new, although the concept of it is actually very old. It's just that it is now moved into technology. It's now moved into online platforms. So what is P2P lending? P2P lending is peer-to-peer lending, where investors will lend money to individuals or businesses through online platforms. Online platforms means apps or websites or anything alike. And the borrower can actually obtain loan without going through all the strict requirements required by banks. So it's easier in a way. However, this nature does not fall within Moneylenders Act. It falls within the jurisdiction of the Securities Commission. Yeah. So that's P2P lending.
If you can give an example, I know this could be a little bit ahead of undergraduates, a little bit ahead. Now, we mentioned earlier, ladies and gentlemen, about this supply chain agreement. Now, what is actually Marlysa and I talking about? I'm going to give you a very simple example. Let's say Marlysa is a trader. She's based in Jakarta, and she wants to buy rubber from Malaysia, and I am a supplier. So, but we've never met each other before. We don't know who we are. She doesn't trust me. I don't trust her. So we have this supply chain scheme where there's a third party who will guarantee the payment. And it is virtually a P2P, where once this third party assure Marlysa, who's the buyer, that Richard Wee is a good vendor, the rubber will come. At the same time, Richard Wee knows that Marlysa will pay me because the third party guarantee is there, then the transaction can go through. Right, Mal? I'm just simplifying it as simple as possible.
Yes.
So effectively what is happening between the buyer and seller in this hypothetical example, between a Malaysian vendor and an Indonesian purchaser, that there's a third party who guarantees the transaction in the supply chain agreement. So if you Google up later on supply chain, you will see quite a number of companies and deals are being done. And this covers from the vendor all the way to the purchaser and people in between assuring payment. and in between, of course, the person who assure payment will get a card, will get a certain kind of a percentage from there. So that's how everybody makes money from each other. So this can only be done because we have this provision here, right, Mal?
Yes.
Or else you'll breach of Money Lenders Act.
Yes.
So Money Lenders Act, if I can go very quickly, it doesn't allow people to simply loan money to each other. General rule in Malaysia, you can't simply borrow money or loan money to people and ask for interest. If I loan money to Marlysa 10 ringgit, no interest, that's okay. But if I'm going to ask for interest, then technically it's illegal. I'm simplifying it, of course. I'm making it very simple. But P2P lending under these new laws, I wouldn't say new laws, these current laws allow it to happen in a more relaxed manner, more liberal way. All yours, Ma?
Alright. Yeah, so basically the Securities Commission has come up with guidelines and policies related to P2P lending. So it is all available on their website. You can have a look at them. But then just this one thing that I want to share with you, which is Chapter 14.19 of the Guidelines on Recognized Markets. And only these type of issuers are allowed to host on P2P platform. And they have to be a locally incorporated or registered company. And these are basically the types of companies. Any type of company will be able to host a P2P platform, but it has to be locally incorporated in Malaysia. So if, let's say, there's a company outside of Malaysia wants to do it, but that company is not registered in Malaysia, they are not allowed to do so here. Right? So that's one thing that I want to highlight. Just because for fintech, usually what we do is what we have the assumption that we have is that it's international and it can be used everywhere. But for P2P lending, it is a bit more strict than any other, like for example cryptocurrency, because that company itself, for it to be legal, it has to be recognized, registered in Malaysia. Right? Okay, so next, crowdfunding. Richard, do you wanna talk about this?
Yeah, crowdfunding is very common the last 10 years. Thanks, Mal. Basically, let me just quickly go through the slides. Now, crowdfunding, as the name suggests, is getting money from people. So you want to start a project. So it's like, you're going home to your relatives and you call your uncle, auntie, and your mom and dad sit around the table and say, hey, I have an idea. I want to sell chicken rice online, for example. So then you ask for donation and maybe investment. So that's what's happening here. But in Malaysia's crowdfunding scene, it is actually regulated. There is some element of control, or else people will simply take money from somebody else. So as you can see from the title here, if I can read, raising capital from the crowd online, equity crowdfunding is a process whereby people invest in early stage unlisted company in exchange for shares in that company. Now, if you may recall, some of you maybe were still quite young at the time, way back in 2008, when the then candidate, President Obama, wanted to launch his campaign in America. He started this. That was about 13, 14 years ago. And he successfully raised quite a number of money, quite a lot of sum, and using that to run his campaign. So here, as you can see, previously business owners raised funds by loaning or borrowing money from friends, applying for a bank loan, etc., etc. But now, they can go with crowdfunding. They have an additional option. Equity crowdfunding allows business owners to raise capital from the crowd through the sale of securities, which is usually shares in a private company that's not listed on stock exchange yet. So basically, you are hawking your company. You're going to a group of equity investors and say, look, I have this app and I know my portal can make it, and I'm trying to go online. So imagine 15 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg would be meeting somebody and says, look, I have this page. It's going to be called Facebook, and I want you to invest. So then 15, 20 years ago, in fact, it was about 17 years ago, whoever will then invest into his then web page. And now we know Facebook is the rest is history. So that's an example of crowdfunding. What are the laws again, Mal? I think Bank Negara governs this. Who else?
And Securities Commission as
Yes,
well.
Security Commission also, right? Because Security Commission deals with the stock exchange.
Correct. And because of the stock exchange element.
Yeah, thanks. And here, this is an example. Before I hand back the microphone, so per se, to my partner. This is equity crowdfunding, MoneySafe and Potboy. MoneySafe, a local P2P crowdfunding platform, announced that they have achieved what they claim to be the fastest P2P crowdfunding for Potboy, a homegrown online groceries platform. So probably this is a unicorn in Malaysia. The record was achieved in 95 seconds. So they got subscription of their investment in 95 seconds. So there you go. That's how it is there. And as a lawyer, our task is to give advice on the way the funding is operated. Of course, it depends on who you're advising. Are you advising the investor, or are you advising the company receiving the investment? Then from there, you have to guide them on the regulation issues. You got to read on the laws, on capital market laws, and of course, very important, you need to know the anti-money laundering laws, which we'll come to later. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, Mal, yours?
Yeah. Before I move on to the next topic, I just want to share with you the most common or known platform for crowdfunding is GoFundMe. I'm sure everyone knows about this. GoFundMe is very popular in the US. Whatever you want to do, you just go into GoFundMe and say, hey, I need this sum of money, $10,000, for example, fund me. So that is the most known or the most popular platform. Unfortunately, GoFundMe is not applicable in Malaysia. Malaysian to some extent, because it's not regulated here, it's not registered in Malaysia. But in Malaysia, what you can use is you can use 100% project. That is registered in Malaysia. So that is one crowdfunding platform available here. Right? Okay, so next, I think this is the area which everyone knows, e-wallet, and I think everyone is using e-wallet at the moment. If you are not using e-wallets, I think please do. It's very, very convenient, however dangerous, because you don't feel like you're coming out with cash. So then you tend to spend a lot. So please, based on experience, e-wallet is dangerous yet very, very easy to use. Okay, so anyway, what is e-wallet? E-wallet is defined under the Financial Services Act. So just as an introduction of the statute to you, Financial Services Act is the main statute at the moment for fintech, and it is regulated under the Bank Negara Malaysia. And if you want to do fintech, this is the statute you need to know. Almost all fintech areas are regulated under Financial Services Act. Insurance is under FSA. E-money is under FSA. What else? The blockchain is under FSA as well. And banks, loans, and everything is also under FSA and under capital markets, under money lenders and whatnot as well. So these are the this is the definition of what is electronic money. It is basically funds stored electronically in exchange of funds paid to the issuer, and is able to be used as a means of making payment. So this is different with cryptocurrency. You can't use cryptocurrency to buy stuff. But e-money, you can use it. So that's why we are using e-wallets. So then, yeah, it contains monetary element to it. That's why we can use it to buy stuff and to pay for stuff. And you can also accept that as your assets. It is your digital assets technically. And digital assets definition is within the FSA. You can look into that. And basically merchants can accept your payment using e-money, right? So these are the types of e-money. We have the card-based e-wallet. We have the One Card, we have the Aeon card, we have the Big Pay card. However, we also have the network-based e-wallet. Touch and Go. This is Touch and Go e-wallet, not the Touch and Go card. Touch and Go card is under card based. We have GrabPay, we have Boost, we have Faith, we have Shopee Pay, all sorts of pay right now. There's so many things. I can't keep up, honestly, Richard.
So much.
Yeah, the only thing I use now is Touch and Go and Grab.
Yeah, very popular, those two.
And right now, under network, there's also the QR Pay. The QR Pay is by Maybank now. I think CIMB has it as well. I just launched, but Maybank is the pioneer for QR code, I would say.
It's very fast.
It's very fast, very fast. So so e-money, again, it is legal in Malaysia. It is a legal tender in Malaysia. It is valid and enforceable legal tender in Malaysia. The legislations are Financial Services Act and Financial Services Designated Payment Instruments Order 2013. Bank Malaysia has come up with a lot of regulations for e-wallet.
A lot. Really a lot.
Really a lot. And each guidelines will have about 100 over pages. So then you may want to look at all this if you want to know more about e-wallets and what are the regulations, guidelines, policies issued by Bank Negara. For us, for Richard and I, we have a lot of startup companies who came to us and asked what are the regulations, what do they need to do to get license from Bank Negara to come up with e-wallets. So we've been advising clients on what are the requirements, what are the documents needed by Bank Negara, what is the policy, what is the guideline, and most importantly, what are the principles looked into by Bank Negara Malaysia. It's all in their guidelines.
You really need to know the rules and guidelines very well in order to advise your clients. In fact, this is the gist and the bulk of fintech work at the beginning, at the early stages. But as the fintech work that you do, assuming all of you practice and become fintech lawyers, you will see that the more comprehensive and more challenging aspects are the P2P work, the blockchain work, how regulating blockchain, and definitely regulating cryptocurrency. That is a challenging issue. But this is always the beginning. Almost every startup that you meet, it's always some kind of e-wallet, and then there's we have to deal with white label issues where they can borrow somebody else's wallet in their app. Then there's also pertaining to retaining the right to retain money, the right to transfer money, blah blah blah. And there's even companies who their specialization is to help you transfer money. So there's certain apps just to help you transfer money, like FPX, you know. So it's an amazing area of technology.
And also for e-wallet, Richard, I'm sure you've heard this term, but for the benefit of the students, there's the open loop and closed loop e-wallet. This is a very famous term for used by the startup companies when they come to us. They'll be like, oh, okay, I want to do this e-wallet, and it's an open loop e-wallet. If you don't know what is open loop, you'll be like, what is that? You know. So another company will come to you and say, oh, no, it's just between us and the user. The money is not spent somewhere else. So what is that? So basically, open loop is GrabPay. You can use GrabPay to pay a third party. So it is a tripartite relationship, whereas the closed loop is like Starbucks. You put in money in their wallet, but you can only use that money with them, right? So these are the two distinctions for e-wallets. I just wanted to share that with you because if, let's say, a client comes to you and say, my wallet I can only use with my customers, so then you know what is it. And why is it important for you to know the character of the e-wallet is because you need to identify whether or not the e-wallet is regulated or whether license is needed. So if it is open loop, license is required. If it is closed loop, license is not required. So then you don't waste your time obtaining for license. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's move on to the next topic. Challenges of fintech.
Okay. this is where I'm supposed to give a bit of comment before we wrap things up with the law, right? Mal, the last part, the law.
Yes.
Now, this area, if I can go to the next slide, you will see these are the 4 usual areas that we notice are the challenges for the fintech companies. They have problem understanding, appreciating, and adopting the regulatory issues. And because it involves other people's money, rightly so, Bank Negara and the Security Commission imposes strict regulatory rules. And this is where, again, as lawyers, Mal and I often have to read, recheck, double check, triple check, if there's such a word, on these areas for the clients. Next one is the difficulty in attracting investors. There's only so much investors out there, and there's so many apps claiming to be the next big one. So we notice some of our clients, they have this challenge. And this is an area where, as a lawyer, if you are able to assist your client to attract investors, I think you'll be very valuable. The next one, the third one is, and this is why we are having this webinar today, limited understanding. People heard about fintech, sounds cool, sounds good, but what is it? You know, so what Mal and I just shared with you today is a very basic understanding of fintech. Now, let it go on record that Mal and I are not claiming to be experts in fintech. We are lawyers. We don't deal with financial technology, but we are dealing with the law relevant to fintech. And of course, when you deal with the industry, like for example, sports law, if you are dealing with sports law, you need to understand sports in order to give legal advice. So like Marlysa, she's very passionate about tourism and hospitality. So she needs to understand the industry of tourism and hospitality in order to give advice. So here, this is just a basic concept and understanding for all of you. What is fintech, problems with fintech, development, latest development of fintech, for you to have a look. But please don't quote that RWC is an expert for fintech. But the law part, yes, we are able to give advice and consultancy, and any of you can do it. Actually, I think any lawyer, if you read up, you understand the situation well, understand the industry, meet the people in the industry, lots of reading, and then anybody can do fintech. Just for the record, I only started doing fintech work about when 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, probably early or late 2019.
Yeah, the time just before we set up RWC the time. So never done fintech before in my life. Did lots and lots of reading. Marlysa also overnight read, and then now suddenly we are advising so many clients on this area. So it's just about understanding the industry, and this is about that. Now the next one is the security challenges, the fourth challenges, which is, as I said very much earlier, while we want money to be transferred quickly and promptly, but it must be done carefully and safely. So we have this issue which goes hand in hand with regulatory issues. So these are the 4 areas as a solicitor we notice it happens all the time. I think next one, Mal, you want to share something, right? What is this about, Mal? This Remy Tamo.
Oh, this one is just a recent development where the MCMC blocked the Remy Tamo's website simply because it was offering crypto services illegally. Why is it illegal? It's because it's not registered and it doesn't have the approval from Securities Commission to have this platform operated in Malaysia. So that's why it is basically, blocked by Securities Commission. And this is just one of the challenges in fintech. If you have something but you don't have the approval by the authority, then there's a chances that you will get blocked by the regulators and by the authority. So then the MCMC has also written to Google an app to disable the operation of Remy Tamo's app in Malaysia. So then there was a compliance issue with Remy Tamo, and unfortunately they had to be blocked by Securities Commission, and it has been declared illegal in Malaysia. So
Since you raised this point, Mal, remember the case which came to us, Emas Fintech. So there's recently this company called Emas Fintech, apparently based in Philippines, but operated by Malaysians. So recently in February, I think 8 or 9 people were arrested for allegations of fraud on Emas Fintech. So these are the challenges of fintech, where there are still issues of potential fraud which may happen, and that will scare away investors. And of course, our job as a lawyer is to make sure that things are as secured as possible, legally accurate and safe as possible. But if I will all of you later when you are free, because it's not inside our slides, Google Emas Fintech, and you will see as recent as February on the Edge, reported on the Edge. I'm looking here, I think about 9 people, yes, 9 people were arrested for allegations of fraud. So this is an example that you have to look at. Oh, I didn't know about this case, Mal. Very interesting.
This is quite new, I think.
No wonder. Okay. So even I'm still learning. Even during my own webinar, I'm learning. So not bad, yeah.
Well, because like you said, fintech is a very fast-moving industry. There's a lot of new things out there almost every day.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies are racing to become the first.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very fast in a way. Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, we just move to regulations, cybersecurity laws and regulations in Malaysia. Because it is related to technology, cyberspace, obviously it has to be strictly regulated. And Malaysia has taken that step to regulate fintech. And these are the regulations related to fintech.
These are just examples. There are many more. They're just examples.
Yeah, these are just examples. And I think by the name itself, you know what it is for. I don't need to go one by one, but for example, consumer protection will deal with consumer rights. And this is for like Shopee, Lazada, any kind of shopping e-commerce platforms. Consumer protection will come in. For example, for the issue of you pay, but the goods did not arrive you in time, or did not arrive at all, that kind of thing. And if, let's say, there's any problems or issues related to the transaction itself, then it falls within consumer protection. Next one, under digital signature. Digital signature is mentioned twice here, but digital signature is basically for example, smart contracts. For smart contracts, whether digital signature is recognized in Malaysia and whether that contract can be validly enforced. Next one, computer crimes, cyber law. If let's say there's any hacking, there's any kind of leak, information leak, data leak, any kind of infringement by anything, Trojan attack or virus attack and whatnot. So this is under the Computer Crimes Act. The penal code is just for any criminal act.
Criminal offense, yeah.
Criminal offense. And then the Communications and Multimedia Act, obviously, because it is related to technology, communications between parties, between a third party and the consumer. So these are the regulations applicable for fintech. It's huge. Fintech is huge, and it is not just FSA that's regulating fintech.
Yeah, in fact, don't forget, Mal, also, as ladies and gentlemen, earlier on, my partner also mentioned about the Financial Services Act, the capital market laws, etc., etc. So, like I said, this is just an example. There's a lot more other areas.
Yes.
Oh yeah, don't forget the Bank Negara announcements.
Yeah,
regulations.
it's just about to say. Yeah. So these are the statutes regulating fintech. It's not. It doesn't. This list doesn't include policies by Bank Negara, policies by Securities Commission, or the guidelines, or the regulations by Bank Negara, by Securities Commission, by any other governmental bodies which is related to fintech. So again, if you want to go into fintech, you need to know everything basically. And you need to be very diligent in updating yourself with the policies, guidelines, regulations issued by Bank Negara, by Securities Commission, and by any other governmental authorities which deals with fintech. Another interesting governmental body that governs fintech is the KPKT. KPKT is the Kementerian Perumahan Kerajaan Tempatan. It is perumahan. So why is it related to fintech? So you don't really know that, right? But then again, KPKT actually deals with money lenders. So even though crowdfunding and everything is not under Money Lenders Act, but the KPKT has some sort of a role in fintech as well if the app falls within Money Lenders Act. So then you have to go to KPKT because that is the governing body for money lenders. So all this you need to know. It's not just Bank Negara, Securities Commission or MCMC. You also need to know about other governmental bodies like the KPKT. Right? So moving on, data protection. Richard? Yours.
So data protection, very important area for fintech. Rightly so. We are sharing so much information with third party, and we are even sharing information about our money to a third party. So there is a very strict compliance with PDPA, and most of the time when Mal and I are involved in this, PDPA is one of our forefront of our advice. So of course, those who doesn't know PDPA here, very quickly, Personal Data Protection Act 2010 has been around for 11 years. The law here governs the safekeeping of our personal data, and all the fintech companies, they are required to maintain a high integrity of maintenance of data. Fintech and money laundering, this is one of the worst ones. Worst as in is easily can be used for money laundering. Money laundering, for those who are not familiar, is, as the name suggests, is to launder money. So someone is now dealing with money outside the system, for example, corruption, selling contrabands, getting involved in drugs or prostitution. There's a cash involved. What do we do with this money? So some of these people, they will take the money and invest into properties or buying shares, etc., etc. So way back in 2001, we have this law called the Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001. It's a long name, but we just call it the AMLA law lah, the AMLA law. And long story short, fintech is actually a perfect place to do AMLA. You can put millions and millions of money into an e-wallet, and then use it to make payment, and then there it is. The money is clean, can be used again. So the AMLA requirements are very strictly adhered to, and again, as a lawyer, we are advising you when you advise other people, know your AMLA law very well. So as you can see here, Bank Negara launched a financial technology regulatory sandbox framework in 2016. So this is a very important sandbox. Most of the apps, the portals, they will aim to go into this sandbox. And once you get through the sandbox, Bank Negara will give you approval. So it's basically like a kindergarten. You want to go to school, and then the school will give you a certificate, and you can start. So recently, one of the online insurance company, I think the first ever online insurance company was launched, and Bank Negara has given them a provisional approval, and they came out through this sandbox. And in this sandbox, as the word suggests, it gives you, it's actually about technological regulatory issues, of which one of it is AMLA. Then the framework adopts existing AMLA, combating the financing of terrorism regulations, etc., etc. So again, you will be involved in this area. And that's it for now. So, yep, 1 hour. So I know MMU allocated for 2 hours. Thank you. I know lawyers can talk, particularly me. I know Mal is very economical in what she say. She's very straight to the point. I am long-winded and can really, really talk, I know. but even 2 hours for me on fintech is a bit too long. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, Fintech and Law by Marlysa and I. And if you have any questions, I know you're all watching on Facebook. I can't really see the comments on my Google Meet here, but maybe our moderator can share with us, and Mal and I will try to address the questions.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Richard and Ms. Marlysa, for the wonderful insight just now. We would now like to proceed with our Q&A session. So to our dear participants, if you have any questions for our speakers, please feel free to type them into the Google form, which will be provided in our Facebook comment section. Thank you. As for Mr. Richard and Ms. Marlysa, we have already received a number of questions, so I would like to proceed with asking them.
Sure.
Very well.
Let's try, yeah.
So question number 1, how would the development of financial technology affect the employment rate?
Is it possible, Yi Jun, to share it on the screen, the question? Is it possible? So that everybody can see the question, and then Mal and I can try to answer it. How do we look like on Facebook, by the way?
Actually, our technical team is actually showing the question on screen for our Facebook viewers right now.
Okay, cool. Well done. All right.
But so I do have to apologize, but you'll have to bear with me because I will be reading the questions to you.
So your question is, how does it affect the employment rate?
Yes, the development of financial technology and its effects on the employment rate.
Actually, it depends on how you look at it, isn't it, Yi Jun? Because those who were doing analog, those involved in financial analog system, those who are keeping records, whatever way, but analog, I suppose that group of workers may eventually lose the job. But at the same time, fintech opens up a lot of new other jobs for people who are very familiar with technology. So I guess it depends on which way you look at it. If you speak to a techie, the techie chap will say, hey, well done, I got more jobs. But you speak to someone who is analog, who's been manually keeping records, managing checkbooks, etc., that person will be very worried. But don't worry, at the moment, Malaysia is still adopting a by system, both analog and, for example, checks are still being heavily used. So I suppose people are still managing using checks. Okay, I just saw my face on Facebook. I just realized I'm too big, so I better stand too far away. Okay, next question. I hope I answered the question. Yeah, Mal, you want to add something in?
No, nothing to add.
Much obliged. Next question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Moving on to our next question. Question number 2. How does financial technology contribute to the economic growth of Malaysia?
Oh, a lot. Because it basically moved everything towards the technological aspects. We must understand when you do trading through technology, wastage has dropped tremendously. You don't waste when you do waste on technology. So if you buy 10, you get 10. You order 7, you get 7. And then in terms of financial payment, there's a paper trail. There is always an evidence. So the chances of an error is lower. Of course, there's always some mistakes here and there, some consumer challenges here and there. But I think fintech will tremendously improve and expand the economic situation in Malaysia and the world, in fact. Mal?
Yeah, I do agree. And I think the best example is 2020. When the first MCO hit, Malaysians still shocked. The logistics company were busier than before MCO. So that's how fintech helped the economy of the country. And I think it will continue to improve and continue to help the economy of the country. And also it promotes for people to keep spending. And that's how the economy will keep flowing. The economy will have its turnover and whatnot. So I think fintech will help the economy tremendously. So yeah, that's my answer.
Very interesting answers. I'd like to move on to question number 3. Does the lack of financial literacy influence the development of financial technology?
Oh, definitely. The answer is yes.
Yes.
Next. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to move on then. What is the ranking of Malaysia's fintech economy in Southeast Asia?
Oh,
I think in that one, I read recently that we are just below Singapore. Singapore is always the first one for fintech. And we are moving towards challenging Singapore, but Singapore is way ahead of Malaysia for fintech, but we are going there, I think. We are moving towards that.
yeah, we lost Grab to them, which is very unfortunate. But never mind. There will always be another Grab.
Yes.
Is Forex also considered as a part of fintech?
Forex is foreign exchange. Is the other way around, Yijun. Forex is not part of fintech. Forex has always been there, the 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years ago. But now Forex, to do exchange of Forex, they adapt and adopt technology. Right, Ma? Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Okay, next.
Question number 6. Since fintech is still an emerging trend, is it expected that crime would follow as well? So, if so, what are the suggested legislative steps to prevent financial frauds and money laundering, etc.?
Well, the answer is yes. As we mentioned earlier, Irma's Fintech was a classic one, and there's a few other fraudulent cases going on. But it's not that prevalent because the paper trail can easily be controlled, and you can actually identify the problems. In terms of changes of law, maybe we may have to look at the Digital Signature Act. Mao, that could be one. The Computer Crimes Act need to be seen, so it need to be reviewed. I'm sure the penal code may need to be amended because it was drafted 70, 80 years ago. At the time, they were forget about computers. There was even the only technological matter was the typewriter, But to be fair, I think we have quite a number of sufficient and relevant laws now. Maybe some tweaking is required, but we don't need a mass amendment, isn't it, Ma?
Yes, yes, I do agree. And because we already have AMLA, we have the MCMC Act, and these regulations are sufficient. However, like Richard said, maybe need some tweaking just to be relevant to the area. But what we have is sufficient at the moment. But obviously, crime will always be there, I think. There will always be room for all these people to do something about it. So, but as regulators, I guess we just have to be a step ahead of all these people.
Next question.
Yes, our next question from our participant is, why are people attracted to invest in cryptocurrency compared to the traditional stock market, considering that cryptocurrency is not a legal tender in Malaysia?
Very simple, Yijun. Money, lots and lots of money. Because cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, the most popular crypto, the value of one Bitcoin has gone up sky high. So so it's just about that.
Yes. And I think also because it's new, people are still venturing into it. People are still looking into it and trying something new. And it just so happened that recently the value of Bitcoin just shoot up from 7 ringgit now, it's gone up to 30, 50, I think, something like that. So
it's gone up, crazy.
Next.
So question number 8, is the law governing fintech in Malaysia different from other countries? And what can Malaysia do to improve the current law?
Generally, Yijun, the principles and the basics, in the words of Hans Kelsen, the Grundnorm is more or less the same. The idea of security, the idea of managing data, protecting data, stopping money laundering, ensuring safety of your money, our money, and then the integrity of the movement of the money is the same. But of course, different countries may have a different approach, different style, different acts, but the concept are more or less the same, which means, on a side note, if a Malaysian lawyer can do this work well, then you are able to advise international clients. So this is an area where you can cross borders and, for example, take on our counterparts down south in Singapore, or advise clients in Hong Kong, etc., etc. So there you go. Next.
Next question is one that I'm sure a lot of our students are wondering about. The question is, how is the data security of fintech in Malaysia? Since fintech is still in the developing stage, is it really safe to use fintech?
At the moment, Bank Negara and Security Commission assures that the two government agencies take an extremely serious view into this. And so far, what I know and what Mal will also agree, we have not seen a massive leak of data yet. Right? So, but you must take note, Yi Jun, no matter what we do with data, whether it's by way of technology or analog, the problem is not the data. The problem is not the system. The problem is not the fintech. The problem is human beings. That is the problem. We have a law in Malaysia which says Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act, where you are prohibited to traffic drugs. And if you are caught with drugs, the law penalty is death penalty. Yet every month, someone is arrested and detained for that area. So there you go. Despite all the laws and the strong enforcement by the police, we still have drugs. Same thing here. So I look at our counterparts in Bank Negara and Security Commission, how they manage this area. I can safely say that they are very serious about this. I cannot emphasize the word very serious anymore. But if we have like what happened in Emas Fintech, if we have people who with bad heart, evil intentions, and they want to cheat on you, they will still cheat you, right? I don't think that was a very assuring answer, but what can we do?
It's a very realistic answer.
It was a realistic situation, yeah. But the safeguards are so strong and so the ring fence is so powerful that it's very, very difficult for anyone to breach the data.
And maybe I also want to add that the responsibility for data security is not only on Bank Negara Securities Commission, it is also on the companies obtaining or collecting the data. So then to get license from Bank Negara and Securities Commission, they do need to tell the two governing bodies how they're going to secure data collected by them. So then it is also their responsibility to ensure security of our data. Next question.